So at this moment, I'm going to ask Pastor King to come, because when we talk about application, when we talk about volunteering and attracting and recruiting people, we also want to introduce them to our safe church practices. We are working with youth and children, so it's very important that we understand that there are policies and there are laws that we need to abide.
All right, thank you so much. This is near and dear to my heart. Some of you may know that I was a JAG officer and served as a defense attorney, and I actually defended pedophiles. And one of the reasons why I became a prosecutor, because it was a hard job for me. And that's a true story. So I've now defended and prosecuted pedophiles, and all of us need to take it serious. We have implemented, not fully, a process at Christian Tabernacle Baptist Church. I've included this. Some of even our own members are not aware, but 3 years ago, Troy Savage, who is a YDS grad, he started working on our process and procedures within the Christian Tabernacle Baptist Church family. And so what you have on your table is a letter first for all of our youth volunteers. Again, we have not fully implemented all of this, but the letter simply puts all of our volunteers on notice that they are to treat the children that come under their care with great care. And I'll just read that first letter for you. We are excited that you are interested in volunteering with the youth of Christian Tabernacle Baptist Church. We believe that you will have the opportunity to minister to youth, helping them grow in their faith as you grow in your own faith. The Lord Jesus said, "Let the children come to me. Do not hinder them, for such belongs to the kingdom of God." We strive to play a part in helping our children and our youth discover Christ. And then we go on to talk about what they would have to do to become a volunteer within the Christian Tabernacle Baptist Church family. That includes going through a background check. One of the things, reasons why it has not been fully implemented, a lot of our volunteers have been around for a long time, and we think we know 90% of the folks who work with youth, but I would suggest that you really need to do this with everyone, because you may think you know someone, but when you run a background check, you realize there was something there that should give you pause. The second document that you have, and all of this is modeled after American Baptist Church, which we are affiliated with. What Allison emailed to all of you was the American Baptist Church packet that will outline in greater detail a safe church policy and procedure. So these documents are modeled after the American Baptist recommended approach to safe churches. So one of the things that you need to do, again, is the background check, as Araceli said, I think a job description to let everyone know what the expectations will be for the positions. And the third document you have at your table is the guideline for workers. And I'm going to read that one a little bit to give you a flavor of the tone that we're trying to set when it comes to Safe Church. In order to be faithful, is everyone looking at the same document? Amen. In order to be faithful in responding to the biblical mandate to let the children come, to provide the highest quality and safest possible program for the children and youth, and to protect those persons working with children and youth, we follow the guidelines below. 1, we will respect children and youth with both our actions and our words. We will not use abusive or derogatory language or actions. And if you work with youth long enough, I know all of us can lose lose our tempers, but we have to make sure that our children are being treated with respect. If you are a senior pastor, it's part of our job to counsel those who are screaming and yelling and doing all kinds of things with our youth. They love them, but there is a proper approach, and we have to make sure that we maintain the dignity of our youth. 2, we will touch children and youth only in appropriate ways and places, never against a child's or a youth's will, unless in the case of clear and present danger of the child or the youth or another child or youth, never causing a child or youth discomfort, never when it would have effect of overstimulating a child or a youth, never in a place on a child's or a youth's body that could be covered by a bathing suit. 3, we will under no circumstances hit a child or a youth. When I grew up in the 80s, that would not have been there. We got snatched up and hit all the time, but certainly we don't want to do that today. 4, when we encounter a particular difficult child or youth situation, we will seek assistance. And we all run into youth who refuse to respect authority. We do have a chain of command, from the youth minister to the deacons, the trustees, and then it may come before me, and I may have to ask that child the parent, to keep the child home for a week or so, but hopefully it will not come to that. 5, doors without windows will be left open when on one-on-one sessions with children and youth are taking place. Our church is fairly remodeled, and one of the things that we did in this regard is installed windows in the doors, so everyone can always look in when we're counseling or having Sunday school class and the like. If we have a plan to take children or youth off church property, we get proper permission. When there's an emergency, in a medical context, we call 911 and then call the parents. And if we suspect that a child at Christian Tabernacle has been subjected to child abuse, we report that incident is reported to me and the proper legal authorities. And so that's kind of our outline. I would direct you to the email from American Baptist that really details in a more comprehensive way some of the things that you can do to safeguard the youth in your church. Did you want to add?
And I believe that in various churches and denominations there are different models, but again, I have seen in my work that folks are really attracted to a process. It's not just like, we need you to sign up at the church. They really want to see that, once we have a packet, a process, they understand that this is not, as I will call the Mickey Mouse Club, that this is a youth ministry that really is focused on doing things with excellence, focused on really giving the best for our young people, even if it's that we need to do background checks, very important. And that's what folks are looking for nowadays. They want to be a part of something that will allow them to grow, but also be a part of a community that understands the seriousness of a safe church practice.
The other thing you'll find in the American Baptist piece that was emailed to you are disqualifying guidelines, and I want to go through a few of them. The first one is someone refuses to consent to the personal criminal background. I have had youth workers say to me, if you require a background, I'm going to quit. Well, you know what? Then you have to quit. And so, so don't be intimidated when people push back, and they will push back. One of the things that, try not to get too personal in our business, but one of the things that people can be concerned about is who sees the information. And that's a legitimate concern. And so the process with respect to Christian Tabernacle would be, I would be the only one that would see it. So you do have to put in a process that it remains confidential. As much as we want to believe in godly people, if wrong information gets out, then it can be a problem. The second disqualifying factor is the person, if they're convicted of a crime of child abuse, sexual assault, child neglect, murder, voluntary manslaughter, felony assault, arson, robbery. It's really the likely, the usual serious offenses. So we would not disqualify someone for prior, selling drugs or use of drugs, but when the conviction puts our children in harm's way, then obviously it would disqualify someone from working with our youth. Another disqualifying factor have they been convicted of a combination of misdemeanor assaults, a battery, misdemeanor theft. I don't know if I would, theft would bother me so much, but this is American Baptist guidelines. They also have you been convicted twice for DUI. Now, I actually think that's a serious matter. If they're going on a trip with youth and they're driving the van, this could be an issue. So I would agree in that regard.
Can I also say, and also being mindful of the use of social media. We can use social media. I love social media, but really understanding the power that social media has. And we don't even need to go into it because we see that even in our job, and we watch it constantly on the news, how many people have been fired, let go due to things that they post on social media. So it's important that integrity is also being shared and delivered and post in one's postings, pictures that they have, and also language being used in social media. So very important, and that information may not be in a lot of these documents because this is something that's happening now, and some of these documents have not been updated. We have a hand.
Just a point. One of the things that I've seen in several congregations across denominations is if the staff has all completed Safe Church training in whatever formation it takes, there is a sign
Yes.
near the classrooms, in the entryway to the church, and as a comfort and as a point of information for families that might be new to the congregation especially, that, hey, by the way, we take this pretty seriously.
I think that's an excellent idea.
Yes.
Yeah, that's an excellent idea. Joyce has worked with American Baptist pretty extensively, and so one of the things that we do is periodically have trainings for Safe Church, but that's something that you should do for all of the staff as well.
I will also encourage our churches to also contact DCF, the Department of Children and Families, where they can send also someone to train all of your staff members in what it means to be a mandate reporter. They do this for free. They do it in multiple languages. I know they've come and have shared sessions on that because it's so important in the world that we live in today that our leaders are trained and understand what that means in serving our children and our youth. So that's also a free resource, and it's also an opportunity for your church to connect with our state, and what's happening and providing us with a lot. And not only on that end, but there are also other resources that they can provide us in our church communities.
That's great. Yeah. Other recommendations or other things that churches are doing that you want to share? I think that was an excellent one. Are there other recommendations or other, policies that your church?
In Massachusetts, we can do queries for free online. So it's worth probably looking into what the state does for religious organizations and nonprofits. Because for me, it's super easy. I log on, type in the information, 5 minutes later, the query comes back. So look into discounted queries and...
So that's a background?
Query is like, I don't know what it is. It's CORI, the criminal background check. And I think it's just the state. It's just the state records. But it's worth looking into different discounts that you can get for being a nonprofit.
Great.
That's a good point.
Last year, I was part of a colloquium that they held in New York, and we have the benefit right here in Connecticut of having what they call the Religious Institute in Westport, Connecticut. And last year, I think they had like 80, when we sat down, we had like 80 different actions that a church can implement to try and create a safe church environment, and they dwindled them down to, or they merged them more down to 20. If you go to religiousinstitute.org, they have these 20, and I think they're trying to do something nationally with the major denominations to get churches certified to be sexually safe churches if they follow these 20 points that they implement in the churches, which is, I think is great.
Oh, that is great.
This is such an important subject. We just cannot let youth leaders abuse the relationship with children. And here's the point I want to make as clearly as I possibly can. Of course there are ill people and predators and people who should never come near children. That's not most of the people that are going to be in your church, and it's not most of the people who get in trouble. What causes trouble is when people think that I would never make a mistake like this. I would never be attracted to a person in the youth group. I'm not at risk. Therefore, I can be very close and relational with these young people because there's no problem. I would never do a wrong thing. But we're pretty complex beings. God did not create a 22-year-old man and make it so he could not be attracted to an 18-year-old high school girl. And he did not create an 18-year-old high school girl with some magic divider that she could not be attracted to a 22-year-old man, or a 22-year-old woman and an 18-year-old man. So what we have to understand with our training is this is not a training we're giving to bad people who do bad things. We're giving training to human beings who need to understand that if you have a slope like this, you have to draw the line up here. It's too late to draw the line down there. So it isn't just about don't do the bad thing when you're down here. Don't be in the situation. Don't be in the car together. Don't be alone together. Don't be in a room together, because we're complicated folks, right? So we have to drive this line upstream to where it seems unnatural sometimes. You mean I can't even sit in the room and talk to them? No, you cannot. You mean I can't even give them a ride home? No, you cannot. Draw the line high on the slope so that they don't get in trouble down the slope, notwithstanding their good intentions, all right?